Greetings. This is Doc Ock coming to you live and direct tonight from Black Facts Headquarters Central, bringing you the best in the North, South, East, and the West. That's right. We're coming to you live and direct from the studio. And we got some stuff that's really going to be good for you. Help you be good to grow if you watch our show. So keep your eyes tuned and your ears peeled, and you're going to hear some stuff right here that's going to help you really chill, because we ain't bringing you nothing but stuff that's really real. That's right. None of that fake stuff. We're not coming with the, what's the name of that guy? What's the name of that thing y'all been reading about? The Temple of Astaban or some, what is the name of that thing? What's his name? Bucky Bucktooth. What's the name? What's the name of that thing? Can't remember it now. And see, and that's a good thing. The fact that I can't remember it is a good thing, because it's not right at the top of my head. And that's where I'm trying to help you all get to, the very same head spot, to where the things that most people have filling their heads are no longer filling their heads. Well, we're going to try to fill your head tonight with some of the real African culture from a number of different aspects, starting with our Kiswahili proverbs. But before we get there, we need to take care of a little business. And what I want y'all to do, in terms of you actively participating in the process, is go ahead and give us a like if you're seeing us on Facebook. If you're seeing us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you can also subscribe to our Black Facts channel right here below, the Tubular Black Facts channel. Subscribe today, without delay. Go ahead and do your thing, because we're going to be right here providing you with some material that'll help you be able to sing. Once you check it out, the next thing you'll be saying is cha-ching, cha-ching. That's right. All right, so here we go tonight with our proverb. Proverb for tonight is, where did he go? Here it goes here. Maji yaki mwagika hayazoleki. Maji yaki mwagika hayazoleki. And what does that mean? If water has been spilt, it cannot be scooped up. Once you break the bottle, the water spills, you can't scoop it up. Just let it go. Start over again. Head back to the stream and get you some more water. Okay? So I'll say it one more time. Maji yaka mwagika haya zoleki. Maji yaki mwagika haya zoleki. And you'd be surprised how often these proverbs come in handy. I was just using one earlier today, which is, how's it go? It goes, mtoto wa nyoka ni nyoka. And nyoka is a snake. And so basically it just says the child of a snake is a snake. Yeah. Mtoto wa nyoka ni nyoka. There you have it. Child of a snake is a snake. All right. And let's go ahead and move on. We're still reading our story, Never Caught. The story of Ona Judge, who was an enslaved African in a number of locations, with working for the Washingtons. Okay, she was enslaved by the Washingtons, first at Mount Vernon, that's where she was born, but then they moved her around the countryside, and she ended up in Philly. Then she was in New York, and now she's back in Philly. And I'm not sure where she's at tonight, but she's saying that she's at the president's house. Name of the chapter, Chapter 9, the president's house. Philadelphians weren't very happy that their city was not going to be the capital of the new country. Some of them were sure that if they could just prove to George Washington and other powerful members of Congress how perfect Philadelphia was during their time in the city, that the government officials would change their minds and stay. That's what they thought. This was never going to happen. First and foremost, George Washington identified as a Virginian. Just like the TV show, The Virginian. I was wondering, how come that star, that Philip, don't have no name? They just call him the Virginian, but they never say that dude's name. No matter how much he may have enjoyed his time in various northern states, and no matter how much he respected some of his northern colleagues, he was adamant about having the capital be located near his home at Mount Vernon. Not just for his lifetime, but forever. Okay, you hear me? Posterity, he's thinking. The builders called the new capital the Federal City. It would be named Washington, pure and clean. Washington, District of Columbia. For George Washington himself after his death. And when it was finished being built, after his death and when it was finished being built. In the spirit of a brand new country, this would be a brand new city built on the Potomac River where only a few of the visionary city planners could see past the swamps and mosquitoes to the beautiful city that was to come. Because it was built in the South, the actual men and women who cleared the land and laid the bricks and cut the lumber and chopped the wood were the same resourceful and hard-working labor force who had made the economy of the South so profitable, the indentured servants. No, only kidding. It was not the indentured servants. It was those enslaved Africans. That's who it was. Y'all know who it was. In fact, it was an element of the compromise among Jefferson, Madison, and Alexander Hamilton that the slaves who would be working under the hot sun of Northern Virginia were going to be rented from slave owners. They're going to be rented out from slave owners in the South. So the masters were going to get paid and the slaves not so much. The majority of them would never be paid for their work. Meanwhile, Ona and the other slaves returned to their home in Mount Vernon in August of 1790 with all the delight and misgivings of anyone who returns home after a year away in a very different place. Ona would have been happy to see her mama and her siblings, which included a brother, Tom, and a sister named Philadelphia. Philadelphia. She would also learn that her older sister, Betty Davis, had given birth to a little girl named Nancy. What would have been the hardest part for Ona after she embraced her mama and cradled her niece was the fact that she had returned to Mount Vernon a different person from the young girl who had left more than a year earlier. How could she explain to her family what it was like to live in New York City with the Washingtons, their political aides, their servants, and the enslaved all spilling out of shared rooms? How could she tell them what it was like to live in a city where some of the black residents were not owned by white folks? Would they even believe her? How could she describe Philadelphia and the free black men and women in the markets and the talk everywhere about black freedom, while she understood that some slaves at Mount Vernon looked at her with envy because she was Martha's favorite attendant? She now had seen for herself that there were black people who lived without being anyone's slave, favored or not. That's what I'm talking about. Free as the wind. This must have made her gaze at baby Nancy with intense hope and equally vivid longing, both for her niece and for herself. There is some evidence that during his life, George Washington questioned the morality of slavery, in his dreams. However, there is conclusive proof that George and Martha did not let the question of immorality get in the way of making that money, of bringing their favorite slaves to Philadelphia when they moved in 1790. What the Washingtons had learned about slave owning in New York was not that owning humans was inhumane, as Ben Franklin believed, but that they needed to be even more careful about which slaves would accompany them to their new home. Ben Franklin would not be in Philadelphia when the Washingtons arrived in November. He died at the age of 84 years old in April of 1790, after he had petitioned Congress one last time about the inhumanity of people owning other people. Giles, Paris, Christopher Shields, Austin, Ona, and Miles had all earned the Washington's trust and would return. William Lee was now too old, too injured, and too unhelpful to go back north. George ordered that he be cared for at Mount Vernon. In George's will, William Lee was provided with a yearly amount of $30 a year for the rest of his life. And he was the only slave of George's who was immediately freed. George was also adding 2 people from Mount Vernon, a father and son. Richmond was a 17-year-old who had not yet shown any specific skill. His father, however, was someone who had become quite well known and respected among the slaves and the white people at Mount Vernon. This was the Washington's spectacular chef, Hercules. Yeah, so I'm talking about Hercules, a vain, strict, imperious slave who ran his kitchen with supreme authority. When he asked his staff to do something, his underlings flew in all directions, trying desperately to please this man who was not pleased easily. Hercules was an impressive-looking person, handsome, and appearances mattered to him, just like they did to George. That is probably another reason why the president wanted Hercules to come with him to Philadelphia. Oh yeah, he bringing Hercules with him. Hercules knew what kinds of food George liked and could eat, usually something mushy, because George always had dental issues. George's favorite breakfast, hoe cakes. Now, I don't know what a hoe cake is, but that's what he ate. A kind of pancake made with corn flour and smothered in butter and honey to make it soft and sweet enough to eat. But Hercules could also put on a lavish banquet when it was necessary. The amount of food at Hercules' command was extraordinary. For 1 week in 1794, the chef had to arrange almost 300 pounds of pure beef, 130 pounds of lamb, 44 chickens, and 22 pigeons in a week. Now, you have to put this into perspective. When Jesse Owens was living in Cleveland and coming up in the 40s and the 50s, he recalls only eating animals, what did he say, once or twice a year. I think it was not more than twice a year. It might have been once a year, but it could be twice a year. That was like on his birthday and for Christmas. That's it. The rest of the year, they couldn't afford to eat no critters. So here when you're talking about him cooking up 300 pounds of beef, 130 pounds of lamb, 44 chickens, 22 pigeons, with a whole lot of other ingredients, and he used all that in just 1 week? Yeah, that's enough food for an army. He had been purchased by George in 1767 as a 13-year-old ferryman. He learned how to cook at Mount Vernon from the Washington's previous chef slave, a woman called Doll. Despite being bossy in the kitchen, Hercules was always careful to seem deferential to George and Martha themselves. The Washingtons wholeheartedly believed they could trust this man. The caravan left Mount Vernon in November of 1790 and headed straight to 6th and Market Streets in Philadelphia. This was the home of Robert and Mary Morris. Back to the Morris's house. They spent a lot of time at the Morris's house. The same couple who had welcomed Martha 18 months earlier. Their house was less than 600 feet from Independence Hall, the site at which George and the other founding fathers had signed the Constitution of the United States. And before that, they had signed the Declaration of Independence there, which is why they called it Independence Hall. Even though George himself had already been fighting the war. The Morrises had moved out in order for George and Martha to move in. From now on, and continuing through the presidential terms of John Adams, this home was known as the President's House. The building was one of the largest homes in the city. Originally built between 1767 and 1768, it had already served 3 families besides the Morrises. One of them was that of Benedict Arnold, none other than the most famous traitor from the American Revolution. Like the mansion in New York City, every inch of the president's house would be used to accommodate the 25 to 30 people who would be living in it year round. Like many other colonial city homes of the rich and the powerful, the president's house was 3 stories tall and the width of 2 city row houses. While undoubtedly big for the city, it was smaller than the Washington's home on Broadway in New York and just a fraction of the size of Mount Vernon. It had marble steps and mahogany doors, fancy couches, and impressive fireplaces. Just as in New York City, Ona would live here with white and black people. George Washington's personal secretary, Tobias Lear, would live there with his wife, Polly, and their toddler, Benjamin. 4 other aides to the president would live there as well. Howard Lewis, Bartholomew Dandridge, Robert Lewis, and Major William Jackson. The first 3 were George's nephews. Major Jackson had served alongside George during the war. Rounding out the living quarters would be the 15 additional white servants whom Tobias Lear was forced to hire in order to run the household without disruption. Ona would spend the next 6 years living in a house that numbered between 25 and 30 residents. Privacy would be rare for George and Martha. For Ona and the other slaves, it was basically impossible. This was especially true for Ona. Her bedroom would share a door with George and Martha's bedroom on the 2nd floor. The house had recently been configured to include bedrooms for the grandchildren. So on one side of the Washington's bedroom was a room for Nellie, who was shared with the slave Maul. On the other side was a room for Washi, who was sharing it with Ona. What? It is hard to imagine Ona becoming comfortable with sleeping in a room that shared a door with the bedroom of the president and his wife. It's a sad fact of slavery that many times enslaved women and girls had to constantly be prepared for assaults by white men, confrontations that usually left them desperately aware that both a smaller physical size and their status as property made them powerless. This was true for every enslaved woman, Maul and Ona included. The house would be filled to the rooftop with people all the time. There was, however, a surprising benefit to this, at least for Ona. Every day, she could examine the lives of the free white servants from Philadelphia, IA. She could watch as these servants received pay for their work, moved about the city as they wished, and made decisions about their lives, including quitting their jobs if they desired. As she folded Washi's clothes and escorted Martha out through the imposing mahogany doors, Ona would have passed by the servants in the hallway, in the kitchen, everywhere. We could almost see her as she carefully studied the habits and choices of her white companions. She would have noticed that they did not ask permission for anything, and she would have begun thinking about a life where she did not have to ask for it either. And that, my friends, is the end of that chapter. So, back to New York. No, excuse me. Back to Philly and wishing for a life where she could actually say and be, quote unquote, free. If there's any such thing as true freedom in this world, Ona was someone who was looking for it. And if she couldn't have absolute freedom, she at least wanted to be as free as some of the other people that she was seeing all up against her, all around her every single day. And so there we have it, children. in a nutshell. Another chapter down, we'll be black tomorrow night to continue the story of Ona Judge, the African slave who escaped from the clutches of George and Martha Washington. We're coming to you presenting the other side of a coin that usually has George's head on the obverse. We want you to look at the reverse because there's a flip side to every coin. Now, until we meet again, we need you little children out there to do something for us. We need you to take your little head, put it on your little pillow, on your little bed, close those yeah eyes, and wait for that sun to rise. And when you feel those sunbeams beaming down on your eyes, you know for sure it's time to rise and shine, O children of mine. And greet the new day in a whole new way. Because, each and every day needs to be greeted as if it was a gift. Because it just may be your last. We're hoping that it's not, but you just never know. So treat every day as if it was your last day. And you'll get a lot out of life. That's my motto. Treat every day as if it's my last day. What would you do if today was the last day of your life? Think about that between now and the next time we see you. Sweet dreams. And for all you adults out there, we need you to do the needful before we have to go getting pleadful. Go ahead and give us a like if you're on Facebook. Give us a thumbs up if you're seeing us on the tube. And go ahead while you're on the tube and go ahead and subscribe to the Black Facts YouTube channel. Now, we finished up an 8-part series on black gods and saints in Europe. We finished that up today. I believe I posted up both parts. Might have only posted the first part, but if not, I'll post up the second part tomorrow. So you'll be able to see that and enjoy that. And then we're continuing on because our noontime show that we'll be doing tomorrow will be focused on another holiday. We're going to move on to another holiday. I haven't quite decided what holiday or exactly how we're going to get there, but we're going to pick up on another holiday. Oh, I think I'm just going to keep it simple. Why should I get complicated? Let's do Christmas. We can do Christmas in April. My original plan was a little bit different, but I modified it because it took a lot out of me dealing with this image, this one we just did on the black gods and saints. So we'll focus on Christmas. But again, there's an obverse and a reverse to every coin. One side of the coin, we're going to show you the other side of that coin. So when it's over with, you're going to know more about Christmas than you ever thought there was to know. Trust and believe that. So check us out tomorrow at noon. We'll look to see you then. Ansar Ibn Bustamante and Sledge Bay. Make sure to check us out. Check out the piece that we did today on the Black Gods and Saints in Europe, because it's all about the Moors. All about the Moors. Yeah, what's going on with them Moors. And if you like more information than what we have up there, we do have a book available also. Boom. There it is. Okay. Black Facts Volume 18. Who are the Moors? So if you're interested in learning some stuff like that, check us out online. Just contact us through Facebook is the easiest way. Send us a message through Facebook and we'll tell you how you can pick up a copy of Who Are the Moors by Dr. Akhenaten. So this is Doc Ock signing out. Peace out without a doubt. We'll see you tomorrow because we're going to be right here on point with a serious joint at 12 o'clock noon. Look for us then or feel like a loon. Peace out, y'all.